In 1939, at the age of 18, Truett Cathy was drafted into the U.S. Army. He remained in the service until 1945, receiving an honorable discharge when World War II ended. Upon returning home, Truett and his younger brother, Ben, felt the call to build something of their own. So they pooled their then meager capital resources, and with the help of a $6,400 loan from a local bank, came up with the $10,600 they needed to open up a 24-hour diner, Monday through Saturday, in Hapoel on May 23, 1946. The Dwarf Grill was just 512 square feet in total and had a 26-seat capacity, per AJC, making it unusually small for the time. With precious little restaurant experience between the two brothers, the Dwarf Grill, later the Dwarf House, was nevertheless a stunning success. In part because it was strategically located across the street from a Ford auto plant. Patrons were willing to wait outside in the hot sun for their turn to dine. The work was grueling, with Cathy grinding burger meat himself after purchasing it through unconventional channels, as was necessary in the period immediately following World War II. The small eatery opened by Truett Cathy and his brother, Ben, was thriving when tragedy struck on a Saturday in July 1949. Ben had just finished his shift, and he and his older brother, Horace, both licensed pilots, set off for Chattanooga, Tennessee on a small plane. The plane crashed near Dalton, Georgia, and both Ben and Horace were killed. The loss hit Truett Cathy hard, but he stepped up, both for himself and for the brothers he lost and the families they both left behind, including Ben's wife and daughter, whom Truett helped provide for in the years following her father's death. So did Truett's new wife, Jeanette, who stepped in to greet tables, run the cash register, and serve food at the Dwarf Grill. Although Jeanette took a leave, so to speak, to raise the three Cathy children who came along in the next several years. As soon as the kids were what she considered old enough, they too were welcomed into the family business. Using his mother's fried chicken recipe, he built the $11 billion company Chick-fil-A. In subsequent years, the eatery would become known as Dwarf House after having its name changed. It took place in this eatery. After waiting nearly 20 years, Cathy came up with an innovative recipe for chicken sandwiches, hand-breaded and seasoned to absolute perfection. The chicken was cooked under pressure before being placed on a toasted bun with butter and 2 pickles. Since these sandwiches were so well received at the Dwarf House, Cathy began searching for additional venues in which she could sell them. He discovered an opening at a brand new restaurant chain known as Waffle House, which had locations in and around the Atlanta metropolitan area. Truett Cathy was able to reach an agreement that would allow the Waffle House restaurants to sell his chicken sandwich. However, the benefits of the deal did not last long. The sandwich achieved such a high level of popularity that it began to outsell other items on Waffle House's menu. That was the end of the deal. Cathy had also worked out similar deals with a large number of other restaurant vendors, and the sandwich was consistently well received by customers. As soon as Cathy realized that he was onto something, he started formulating a strategy for opening a new restaurant. He had come to the conclusion that when using a pressure fryer, the amount of time necessary to prepare a chicken sandwich was equivalent to that required for a fast food hamburger. After working tirelessly to perfect his chicken recipe over the course of 2 years, Cathy finally felt ready to launch his own chicken sandwich restaurant in 1967. The very first Chick-fil-A restaurant opened in the Greenbrier Mall in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was only 384 square feet in size. The name Chick-fil-A is a play on the phrase chicken fillet, and the addition of the capital letter A at the end of the name was meant to emphasize the high quality of the food served between the years 1970 and 1980. A chain started to expand its reach by opening new locations across the Southeast, including ones in shopping mall food courts. The key was to keep the menu to a minimum and concentrate on providing excellent service to the patrons. If you've ever been to a Chick-fil-A, you know that the warm and welcoming service is what sets them apart from other fast food restaurants. Truett Cathy was aware of the significance of providing excellent service to customers. When he was a young boy, he would go door to door selling Coca-Cola and would make a profit by serving it in the refrigerator. In those days, there was no such thing as air conditioning, so in order to beat the heat, people would sit on their front porches. Therefore, young Cathy realized at an early age that putting the needs of the customers first led to increased revenue. Years later, when he worked as a delivery boy for a newspaper company, he took this philosophy with him and applied it to every customer as though they were the governor. When it came time for him to collect money, he found that this service had paid off. Cathy's deep love for her customers was strengthened by both of these and other experiences. As a result, he instructed the staff at each Chick-fil-A restaurant to behave as though each patron were the President of the United States. And Cathy made it a point to choose franchisees who, like him, had a soft spot in their hearts for the human race. Therefore, the phrase "my pleasure" is one that you will frequently hear whenever you are at a Chick-fil-A restaurant. In April 1986, after a period of 20 years, Chick-fil-A began expanding into locations other than the food courts of shopping malls. Atlanta, Georgia was the location of the very first Chick-fil-A restaurant to be opened on its own, and subsequent cities or the opening of many more. Cathy's family was and always had been his primary concern, and this served to inform his one-of-a-kind approach to running his company. In addition to this, he was a devoted Baptist who regularly went to church and taught Sunday school. Therefore, early on, it was decided that the business would be closed on Sundays. When Cathy opened the Dwarf Grill in 1946, he was the one who started this long-standing custom. Because of the religious beliefs held by the company's founder, Truett Cathy, Chick-fil-A has always operated as a privately held business. He was well aware that Chick-fil-A couldn't present the same charitable image to the public as it does behind closed doors. The deeply religious man who passed away in 2014 held the belief that giving to charity was just as important as adhering to the policy of being closed on Sundays. Over the years, criticism has also been leveled at these donations to charitable organizations. Chick-fil-A gives money to charities that promote causes that are in line with the company's religious values. As a result, numerous organizations have taken a stance against the corporation on the grounds that it financially supports organizations that are against same-sex marriage. At the present time, the business brings in more money per location than any other chain of fast food restaurants. The only states in which there are no locations are Hawaii, Alaska, and Vermont. Locations have been established in almost every state. In addition, the process of opening a Chick-fil-A franchise is quite distinct from the processes involved in opening franchises of other chains. However, there is a lot of fierce competition. Chick-fil-A refers to its franchisees as operators. This is due to the fact that Chick-fil-A owns all of the restaurants and foots the bill for their startup costs, which include the construction of real estate as well as the purchase of restaurant equipment.